Hey everybody, we have some terrific news today in terms of regulatory developments. We're going to be discussing the OCC and US bank regulations as it pertains to Bitcoin. It's a pretty big deal. It also seems like everybody involving themselves in this space in terms of custodial management of cryptocurrency, being it Bitcoin or otherwise, is just seeing new records across the board. We'll be taking a look at some of the companies that are announcing new assets under management, AUM figures. There are a lot of new companies as well that are being rewarded in the traditional financial sectors. And I made some solid predictions on Sunday as to whether GreenPro Capital and MicroStrategy would perform this week in the markets on Wall Street. We'll take a look to see how accurate I was one way or the other. Anthony Scaramucci giving us more details about Skybridge Bitcoin's fund. It's actually larger than we all suspected, $310 million. So that's very, very, very significant. We'll be discussing Ethereum, which seems to be really on the edge of glory, flirting with new all-time high territory. It's nearly there. Maybe it'll be at an all-time high by the time you're watching this video. We have crypto.com news. Loopring is in the news with updates, as is Stellar, as is VeChain, and finally we'll be discussing THETA and its updated roadmap. Guys, if you like this kind of content, Bitcoin, blockchain, and cryptocurrency, be sure to like and subscribe to Altcoin Buzz. All right, let's kick things off with something a little bit different, a little bit more sentimental, I suppose, that we happen to stumble across on Twitter. This might be the most wholesome Bitcoin comment I've ever read. This is very anecdotal. It's just one individual's opinion that we dug up on Reddit, but here it is. I'm up more than 110 times, so I just sold a chunk and used it to pay off my mortgage. I now own 100% of my own apartment and completely debt-free, thanks to a rather small Bitcoin investment 7 years ago. Even if Bitcoin were to crash down to zero, my life is going to be so much easier now that I essentially have more money every month. This is a life-changing event for me. So kudos to this individual. This is the kind of story that we like to see. Now, I know that probably many of you have a mindset and you're probably already kind of suggesting that, well, this is too short-sighted. This is a bad idea. In fact, if you look at some of the comments here, take a look at this. Terrible idea. Should have refinanced to super low rate. Taxes, insurance will always be there. Principal is part if the house. So he just saves on interest. Cleared a mortgage to waste BTC return. We're not going to kind of split hairs here as far as the financial strategy, because I tend to agree with that comment, actually. I think that you should be paying for things like mortgages down the line with interest accrued from your Bitcoin, your Ethereum, your altcoin investments. That's just me. A very, very big picture, I think, is the goal. But nevertheless, this is a positive story that I think we ought to celebrate, because ultimately, this is the plan. This is what we're all trying to do, right? We're trying in one form or another to achieve economic, monetary freedom and free up our time as well, free ourselves from whatever rat race or whatever hamster wheel we may find ourselves on. So a pretty encouraging piece. Just wanted to share that right off the bat. Let's discuss OCC news. This is a very, very big deal. Anthony Pompliano here highlighting the fact that the OCC just told US banks that they must treat permissionless open source blockchains like Bitcoin and Ethereum the same way they treat SWIFT, ACH, and Fedwire. So very likely you've heard of that acronym before, SWIFT. It stands for Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, SWIFT, the SWIFT system. And this is the most outdated dinosaur system you can imagine. It's the way that banks interact with each other, the wires essentially that exist between banks. It's been around since the 1970s, and this is still our standard. This is still the bar that exists in the banking world that, to one extent or another, a lot of institutions are protecting, but it's the most outdated piece of garbage technology you can imagine. Is there any, think about it, is there in the context of your life, any other piece of technology from the 1970s that you use, that you find acceptable at the personal level, at the level of your day-to-day life, let alone at the level of international banking technology? It's just an embarrassment. But that is a bit of a tangent. Today we are discussing the new regulations here. So CZ Binance weighing in. Progress. Federally chartered banks can use stable coins for settlement. Pressure is on for banks in other countries. After they get used to this, they will also learn using Bitcoin to settle is much better still for the banks and for everyone else. Elaborating on this news a little bit, it means that national banks and federal savings associations can use public blockchains as well as stablecoins for settlements. This is according to the OCC, so that stands for the Office of the Comptroller of the Currency. And this was all highlighted in a letter that was published late on Monday. So speaking about CZ, as we just did, his opinion, of course, goes a long way because he was voted as one of the most influential heads of a cryptocurrency exchange. Quick aside there, but wanted to give kudos to CZ. Let's get back to the topic at hand here. So these OCC regulatory implementations are groundbreaking because in more ways than one, they support cryptocurrency guidance for banks and the future of payments. This on Forbes.com. This OCC letter is extremely important in that it allows banks to implement and to use new technologies, including independent node verification networks or INVNs, as well as stablecoins to perform bank permissible functions, payment activities, for example. So a bank can use stablecoins, so those are, as you guys know, cryptocurrencies designed to minimize the price volatility in order to facilitate payment transactions for customers. In so doing, a bank may issue stablecoins, exchange stablecoins for fiat currency, as well as validate, store, and record payment transactions by serving as a node on a blockchain, INVN in this case. And this is very good news when you consider, I think in the back of our minds, there was some FUD that was festering here at the level of the SEC and perhaps Tether. Not to say that Tether USDT is 100% out of the woods, but this is a good step forward, this mass adoption effectively, this green light for banks to use stablecoins in this fashion. Great news. So the idea here is that the OCC's guidance opens the possibilities that banks will use INVNs and stablecoins to transfer funds between financial institutions faster and without the need of a government intermediary. And I can only hope that this is the beginning of the end of that horrendous SWIFT system, which is far too slow, it is reliable. I'll give it the fact that it is reliable, but it's far too slow and it's far too expensive, extremely inefficient. Kristen Smith, executive director of the Blockchain Association, noted, quote, "The OCC's interpretive letter shows that there are those in government who actually understand that cryptocurrency networks are the foundation of a next generation payment system. Stablecoins like USDC can power faster 24-hour real-time payments in a way that existing US payments infrastructure can't handle." Banks adopting the use of INVNs and stablecoins could also vastly increase the efficiency of cross-border transactions, but that will require banks in the US and abroad to implement a lot of technology. However, one step at a time, incremental increase is the name of the game, and this is yet another step towards mass adoption, and a pretty big one. This is more of a leap or a bound, because this at the institutional level is going to have major implications. So one step closer, ladies and gentlemen, are members of the Altcoin Buzz Army. Very good news. We also have very good news in terms of overall volume that exchanges are reporting, that custodial services are reporting in terms of AUM. So Sam Bankman-Fried here, he's the CEO and the founder of crypto derivatives exchange FTX. He reported that his exchange has processed more than $10 billion of the $180 billion in volume produced by the sector's 5 largest exchanges. Very encouraging, very good news for Sam indeed and for FTX. Moving right along here, we have more good news. The Block. They report that Bitcoin miners brought in $692 million in revenue during December alone. Also, the Block, NASDAQ gaming firm stock soared 87% on news entering crypto mining. And this kind of goes back to my thesis that, even if you're in the traditional space, if you're in a totally different industry, in this case, video games, it seems like, any association, any strategy that you align yourself with when it comes to Bitcoin is one that's going to be rewarded here in the traditional financial sector because people realize this is a growing space. Investors and shareholders, therefore, want to make sure that they get in on the action they want to take here. So, in essence, the L9 Limited, a Chinese gaming company listed on NASDAQ, has said it will enter the cryptocurrency mining space with investment from former Canaan directors. The 9 stocks price soared 87% on the pivoting news on Monday, pushing its market capitalization to nearly $60 million. The move comes less than 2 months after it received a market cap deficiency notice from NASDAQ warning of delisting risks. There you go. That's how you turn things around. The 9 Limited here on Yahoo Finance, ticker NCTY, up meteorically, 43% at the time of this recording, to a stock price of $9.40, a market cap now of over $80 million. Obviously, this is just a boon for their price. Again, any involvement in cryptocurrency right now, at least, and this could change, but right now the traditional markets are certainly rewarding that. Now, I made a couple of specific predictions about GreenPro Capital. They just announced a $100 million Bitcoin fund allocation, and I said that they would see increases on Monday once the markets open, following a very strong price performance weekend as it related to Bitcoin. Well, I was wrong about GreenPro Capital. They're up a little bit today, but if you take a look at the last 5 days, they peaked actually last week, so right before New Year's, at a stock price of 2.16, now 1.64. Certainly still up overall since they announced their $100 million Bitcoin fund, but they didn't quite get that boost after the weekend that I was expecting. So I was wrong about GreenPro Capital. I thought that would swell about 20, maybe 30% or so. It's actually retraced slightly. However, I was right about MicroStrategy, even though they happen to be down right this second. As you can see, they shot up very significantly when the markets opened on Monday morning, from the range of, let's see, about $390 or so to $436. I made the estimate, the prediction, as you may recall, that they'd get to about 420, because of course what MicroStrategy is doing isn't quite brand new in terms of news. Michael Saylor has been very vocal about his Bitcoin investment now for several months, so nothing they're doing is quite new. But my reasoning was that because we saw such strong Bitcoin price performance into the $31, $32, $33, $34, nearly $35,000 range over the weekend, the reasoning was that the traditional market would reward MicroStrategy for its very aggressive investment into Bitcoin. So I guess I was right with one, wrong with the other, but MicroStrategy back down a little bit now. I think all of these companies, so MicroStrategy, GreenPro, as well as the 9 Limited, good things only as far as the future of these companies go. It looks like they're managed by individuals with very strategic minds that can kind of see the big picture, can see where things are going. So kudos to all three. As I mentioned, Grayscale and other custodial management companies have unbelievable numbers to report here. This from the 4th of January. Total assets under management for Grayscale, now 22.8 billion. Unbelievable. That's Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, ZEN, LTC, XLM, XRP, and ZEC. Seems they're still proudly promoting the fact that they have custody offerings for XRP. $22.8 billion. I believe that's an all-time high for Grayscale. If not, it's certainly close. So that's terrific news. More bullish news, and those that are in this space are being rewarded. Here, this CNBC TV 18 Indian syndicate, I think, for NBC, is talking about the fact that by the end of 2021, we'll see a Bitcoin ranging from 50 lakh rupees, I think that's how you say it, to 1 crore or 1 CR. Now, I don't often talk about figures and money in terms of those denominations, but a quick Google search indicated that it's somewhere in the range of about 75 to 140,000 US dollars. CNBC, of course, is also talking about it on a pretty regular basis on Fast Money, which is a good show. I got to say, they've been pretty consistent in their messaging over the course of the last few years. Anthony Scaramucci, known for his involvement not only in politics, but in finance and with Skybridge, the hedge fund in particular, he says that introducing the Skybridge Bitcoin Fund, a new institutional grade product to invest in Bitcoin. Now, taking a look at this, we knew that Scaramucci was getting into Bitcoin. We didn't quite, at least, speaking for myself, maybe I was a little bit ignorant to the size of the investment. It's actually pretty substantial. So additionally, on behalf of its flagship fund, Skybridge indicated a position valued at approximately $310 million at the time of this release in funds investing in Bitcoin during November and December 2020. Quote, "We believe Bitcoin is in its early innings as an exciting new asset class," said Skybridge founder and managing partner Scaramucci. "With the institutional quality custody solutions available today, we believe the time is right to allocate capital and provide our clients access to the digital assets space. Bitcoin is leading a digital monetary revolution around the world," said Brett Messing, Skybridge president and COO. "We believe the onus has shifted from 'why are you investing to Bitcoin' to 'how are you not investing in Bitcoin. And I've been saying it, I think, over the course of the last year or so, especially when we hit all-time lows, local all-time lows in 2020, that there's only upside to be gained here. And now I think I agree with this individual, Brett Messing. It's now at the point where it's fiscally irresponsible, especially if you're in a leadership capacity. It's irresponsible to not invest at some level in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, if nothing else as a hedge against all the other turbulence and turmoil that we're seeing right now in the markets, especially with regard to currencies and especially with regard to the US dollar. Bitwise has also surpassed $500 million in assets under management as crypto demand surges amongst professional investors. You can also check out JP Morgan's latest prediction here. Bitcoin at $146,000. JP Morgan thinks so. Bitcoin has the potential to reach 146K as institutional investors pad their portfolios with the cryptocurrency at the expense of gold, says JP Morgan. Now, I try not to introduce too much FUD into the topics that we cover in these daily videos, but I realize many of you are aware of the fact that FinCEN regulations are kind of, that elephant in the room that maybe we don't discuss all that often. So for all of the positive developments, for all of the OCC regulatory developments that we're kind of celebrating, there is this backdrop of potential FinCEN regulations that, could pose a problem. I just wanted to address this briefly, and Jack Dorsey's take is one that I certainly agree with because, basically I see cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, and all of cryptocurrency, altcoins for that matter, as something that, just kind of exists. And if you decide to kind of stomp it out in one sector of the world, it's almost like a puddle of water, right? It's so like mercurial. It's just going to relocate. It's just going to flow elsewhere. It's going to take the path of least resistance. And that means that if regulations and penalties in one part of the world are too draconian and are too penalizing, all that it means is that you're going to have these companies that are going to go somewhere else. They're going to go offshore or relocate into other parts of the world, the crypto havens. So I think Jack Dorsey points out a couple of very good observations here. Quote, counterparty name and address collection reporting should not be required for virtual currency CTRs or record keeping, as it's not required for cash today. So that's his kind of stance. And extending that line of reasoning, by adding hurdles that push more transactions away from regulated entities like Square and into non-custodial wallets and foreign jurisdictions, FinCEN will actually have less visibility into the universe of cryptocurrency transactions than it has today. Jack also feels that it is quite clearly a politically motivated piece of midnight rulemaking, the publication of which diminished the trust we have in FinCEN. And that is about all the FUD I want to cover today because there's just too much positivity here to consider. Let's discuss Ethereum for a second. It's really on the verge, I feel, of breaking out toward not only its previous all-time high of about $1,450, but to new great heights. I think we're very close indeed. And maybe by the time you're watching this video, we'll have already hit something quite special. Alex Saunders here. Record high for ETH was on Coinbase at $1,500. Currently trading at about $1,050. That puts it 45% away from that all-time high. But after everything we've witnessed in the past 12 months, would it really surprise you to see a 50% slingshot over this weekend or even a day? I feel it's about to shock us all. And in fact, maybe as Bitcoin kind of consolidates here in the low $30,000 range, depending on whether or not that continues, it could be Ethereum's time to break out now and do something very special. Let's keep an eye on that. Crypto.com with the following updates at Crypto.com on Twitter. December updates. Crossfire mainnet dry run. Check. AUS financial services license. Check. Canadian cards now shipping, check. DeFi Earn launch, check. Anti-phishing code for app, check. Exchange VIP program, check. Margin trading API, check. Zill supercharger, check. And new Substack newsletter, check. You can read more about the developments here on blog.crypto.com. By the way, guys, if you have not availed yourself yet of a new MCO Visa card, you can do so by signing up using our link in the description below and our code. It is simply AB. If you use that code AB, you get $25 loaded onto that card for free. We get $25 as well. We help grow the ecosystem. And don't forget, you have all kinds of benefits, including cash back specifically in cryptocurrency. So check it out, guys, especially if you're a Canadian or Australian member of the Altcoin Buzz Army, where new Visa cards are now available via crypto.com. Moving on here, we have some news from Loopring at loopring.org. We can't contain our excitement. Our new Ethereum ZK rollup DEX volume record, $5.49 million, 2.5 times greater than our record of, well, yesterday. If you squint, you can see the future of finance. It's Ethereum Layer 2. And to see how to get aboard, simply follow this 2.5-minute video. It takes just one L1 transaction to deposit your assets to L2, which does cost gas. And then you are living a gas-free, free-to-fly life. To see how to swap and add liquidity to an AMM pool, you can watch this 1-minute video. This is completely gas-free since you are on L2. Stellar XLM is in the news here. We're honored to partner with the innovators at the Ukrainian Ministry of Digital Transformation to help develop their strategy of virtual assets and facilitate development of a national digital currency. Exciting work ahead. More of these governmental deals, these national contracts and arrangements that are being signed. I'm thinking, for example, of Cardia Chain. I'm thinking, for example, of Tomo Chain. Great news for Stellar, Ukrainian Ministry of Digital Transformation, to develop virtual assets and to facilitate CBDC, that's Central Bank Digital Currency Infrastructure, with the Stellar Development Foundation. Read more about this here. We'll link to it in the description below. VeChain now is in the news, fresh off a new all-time high. VeChain is just showing a lot of promise for this upcoming bull run, guys. Hit the like button below if you're excited about that, as I am. VeChain Foundation here at VeChain Official. The first 100 COVID-19 vaccination records for medical personnel at the Mediterranean Hospital of Cyprus are now securely stored on the VeChain public blockchain. With this technology, governments and individuals are assured of the quality and validity of the results. And when you think of VeChain, when you think of its use cases, yes, we think of product authentication, we think of supply chain transparency and verification, but there's really so much that's possible with this tech, with this setup. And here's just one example. So again, Mediterranean Hospital of Cyprus, digital certificate concerning the vaccinations against COVID-19 via Cert application. A great use case, a great pragmatic sort of application of what it is VeChain can do. To read more about it here, visit medihospital.com. And finally for today, we're discussing THETA Updates, which itself is also perhaps on the verge of a new all-time high. THETA Network here at @theta_network from a few hours ago. THETA Network 2021 roadmap is available now, and there's quite a lot here. You can check it out on medium.com. We're excited to get 2021 kicked off for the THETA Network with plans to make this the strongest year yet for THETA growth. So let's take a look at some of the highlights here. Q1 of 2021, TNT20 THETA Network token minter expanded for NFTs. The pre-Elite Edge node on testnet, T-Fuel staking testing. We discussed that in a few days ago, I think, in a video from a few days ago. One-click delegated staking within THETA Wallet, decentralized exchange, DEX on THETA blockchain, NFT marketplace on THETA blockchain, and second THETA hackathon launches. There's much more coming up, guys. That was just Q1 of this year. Want to highlight briefly Q2 of 2021, Mainnet 3.0 launch, including Elite Edge nodes and T-Fuel staking and burning. I think it's just my personal opinion here, not financial advice, but I think with this run-up that we've been seeing, it could be the case that we're only just getting started, because Mainnet 3.0 in Q2 is going to be a very, very, very big deal for THETA, and all of the momentum, again, just in my opinion, but all of the momentum seems to be building towards that and what lies beyond. So I think we're still early stages, despite the unbelievable price performance that we've been seeing for THETA. So check this out, guys, once again on medium.com, THETA Network's 2021 roadmap. We'll link to it in the description below. But that about wraps it up for today, everybody. Hey, follow us on all the regular social media channels. Keep checking into altcoinbuzz.io for all the latest. Like, subscribe, share, hit the bell for God's sakes to receive notifications if you enjoyed today's video. That way you are up to speed with all of our content, because of course we do put out a lot. Best of luck, guys. If you choose to invest on this Tuesday, stay safe, everybody. And yes, as always, we do hope to see you again soon in our next video. Take care.